Okay, we're on chapter 7, understanding and installing hard drives. So, goal of the chapter is to understand the purpose of permanent storage, which is what our hard drives are, understand the types of hard drives that we're going to see and use throughout your years with computers, understand the technologies of different hard drives, understand how to select a hard drive and how to understand how to install the hard drive. And we're not going to obviously get to all those things today. That's just what the chapter is all about. So the first one is to understand the purpose of the hard drive, which even early. Okay, so what is the purpose of the hard drive you remember from chapter 1?
Permanent storage.
Permanent storage. Permanent storage. What else? What's it hold? What's the stuff that's stored on the hard drive? What's the biggest program on our computer? Operating system is held on the hard drive. What else is held on the hard drive? What did you have open right now on your computer that you're looking at? What are you looking at? What's on your screen? What do you have open? Google what? Chrome, which is a software. It's a program. So the second thing we hold on there is programs. Okay. And the final thing that we hold on our hard drives is?
Good morning. Today is Friday, February 25th. It is a
hard drive is permanent storage. It's secondary to the what? It's permanent storage, but it's considered secondary storage because it's secondary storage for the RAM is primary, but it's secondary to the CPU. Okay. CPU can only talk to RAM. That's why it's primary storage. CPU talks to RAM, and then RAM gets copied to hard drive. That's why hard drives are considered secondary storage for the CPU, but it is the only permanent storage. Primary job is to hold the operating system, because without that, we would not have any way to get to our hardware. It also holds all other programs, and it holds all of our user data. So that's the purpose of the hard drive. And it is important to say that I'm saying hard drives. Really, this chapter was originally about permanent storage. There is other permanent storage that we have used throughout time. We have used floppy drives are considered permanent storage. CD-ROMs are considered, and DVDs are considered permanent storage as well. But I trimmed this chapter down to just talk about hard drives because in general, you guys don't save to these anymore, right? You guys don't save to these anymore. In fact, you guys may have never even touched a floppy drive before. You may use a solid state drive, but even solid state drives have become far less used in the last 3 to 4 years. Why? Why don't I save all my papers on this? We used to get, in Computer One, everybody used to get one. It's part of your fees. We used to buy flash drives and give them out, which by the way is also permanent storage. All these are just like hard drives. I could have an operating system on any of them. My first computer, the operating system was on this. Could be on this, could be on this, but I changed to hard drives. Why don't we use these anymore? Where do you store stuff if you want to take it home? Where?
I don't know.
You just said it just a second ago. Where are most of your papers stored right now? Are they? Are they really? Or are they on your Google Drive? Which ones? Where are more of your things stored? Most of Google Docs? And do you save stuff on your Google Drive? Or do you save them on the student drive? I mean, that's true too. You could save on the student drive, which is also a hard drive. Okay? Is your Google Drive a hard drive? Absolutely. It's just not a hard drive in this building. It's a hard drive in a multi-million-dollar, if not billion-dollar complex with probably thousands of hard drives stored right next to it. Still a hard drive. People say, oh, I stored it in the cloud. Like, that's different. What's the difference between the cloud and your S drive? Where. That's all. It's a where. It's not like it's not on a hard drive. But the thing is, because of the cloud, most people don't use these anymore. If I'm going to send it to somebody else, I either share it as Google Doc, or I email it to them, because emails didn't used to hold big files. Now they hold pretty big files. But so we don't use these as much anymore. You guys save them to your H drive. You save them to your Google Drive. You email them to each other. Do you guys have flash drives with you? Most people don't. I have to use them occasionally to move stuff to the church, to bring it up on the church computer, just because it makes me feel better that I have it in my hand. But in general, most people store things on a hard drive. Sometimes they don't know it's on a hard drive. They don't know where the hard drive is, but it's stored on a hard drive. So that's why I kind of changed it to just talking about hard drive. The cloud, your S drive, still a hard drive, just not in the computer that's right in front of you. Okay, so we're going to talk about the different types of hard drives, talking about physical size and shapes, capacities, speeds, connectivity, and their longevity and reliability. We're going to talk all about that on different kinds of hard drives. So physically, we have basically three different sizes. We have 3.5-inch drives, which are traditional hard drives. Every single traditional hard drive you could buy today are 3.5 inches. That did not used to be the case. So I'll show you my first hard drive that I ever pulled out of a machine. This, my first hard drive. Okay, I forgot to pull this out last class. Can't believe it. Okay, then I know it used to be 3.5. This pulled out, put down into a tray. That is a hard drive. Not a floppy drive. This is firm and hard. There's a difference between a hard drive and a floppy drive, because floppy drives are floppy, but they're all the same size anymore. There's no big, huge data drives like that in existence. They're all this size. They're all 3.5 inches. That's the physical size, is 3.5 inches of a hard drive. Laptop drives and most solid state drives are 2.5 inches. The connections are exactly the same. And in this solid state drive, again, 2.5 inches, those connections on the end are exactly the same. I can physically unplug one, plug the other one in to the exact same spot between these 2.5 and 3.5. Now, they may not physically fit. You can't shove this into your hard drive bay. I can't shove this to the hard drive bay in this computer without it just sitting there and flopping around, because there's no way to screw it in that computer. But as far as the connections go, they're exactly, oops, I'm holding the wrong two together. As far as the connections go, these two are exactly the same. Okay, so physically we have 3.5, we have 2.5, and then the last kind of drive, I should let you pass this around, just in case. The last one's called an M.2 drive. It's a memory stick. It's only 0.9 inches. That's what an M.2 drive looks like. It looks basically like a memory stick on its edge. It pops in, and there's a little spot to screw it down right there. So that's the physical difference between the three different options of hard drives that we have today. And those are the only three options of hard drives. Physically, it's 3.5, 2.5, and M.2s. Okay? So that's the physical difference. Has nothing to do with how much it holds. This drive right here, which is this size, I'm just not opening the box. This drive holds 8 times as much as this drive. It's way smaller physically. So capacity and physical size are two different things. The first thing we're talking about is physical size, to make sure you understand that if you're going for a laptop, you can't buy a 3.5. You can only buy a 2.5, or some laptops use M.2. So you have to know the physical size differences. So there is a picture of an M.2, a 2.5-inch hard drive, and a 3.5-inch hard drive. Size does not have anything to do with capacity. So that's question 7.1. Go ahead and take that quiz. If you haven't,
Can I use the restroom?
no, a hard drive can hold, okay? Capacity is how much actually fits on it, and has nothing to do with the physical size. This hard drive has 4 terabytes of storage. This hard drive has 500 gigabytes of storage. This has 8 times more than this, but this, I'm not going to open it, it's the size of this. Physical, it doesn't have to do with capacity. So, capacity is measured in gigs or terabytes. Now, didn't used to be. When I had my first computer, it used 2 of these floppy drives. This holds 1.44 megabytes. Megabytes. Most of your Word documents, definitely all your PowerPoints are bigger than that. When we originally started out with the real floppy, this is the original floppy. It's floppy. You see how floppy it is? It's a floppy. I'm waiting for Mr. Herman to look at my floppy. Okay, so when we started out with these were in kilobytes. It's 512 kilobytes of storage. And then we doubled it. We went to these floppies. They're still floppy. Inside there is if I rip this apart, this is a big floppy drive that just moves around inside there. So capacities now are gigabytes or terabytes, even in flash drives. We talk about them in gigabytes. They're not even megabytes anymore. Nothing really do we talk about in megabytes other than CD-ROMs. CD-ROM is 700 meg. This is the last holdout of anything that isn't in gigs. DVDs are 5 gig, 4.5 gigs. So in general, when we talk about storage anymore, we're talking about gigs or terabytes. And a gig, again, is how many bytes?
A billion.
A billion, and a terabyte is a trillion. Okay, so it's big. It's big. My first hard drive. My first hard drive I had was so big. First of all, again, 1.44. My first hard drive was 40 meg. It looked just like this. It's 40 meg. Holy moly. That's so small. Or something that was really the same physical size. So we look at those capacities in gigs and terabytes. And when we look at hard drives, we have to look at what does that mean and how much does it hold. This 500 gig hard drive that I'm just holding holds the equivalent of 125,000 music tracks, songs I could save on it, or 100,000 digital photos. A 1 terabyte, that one's a 4 terabyte drive, holds 1 million MP3 tracks or 800,000 digital photos. Just kind of what's that mean? When we install Windows, I say 40 and 20, which is basically the load that's on your computer. On your computer, we use 60 gig of hard drive space of the 120. Your drives are 120 gig hard drives. We use 60 gig of it before we give them to you. It's got the operating system, all the updates, and Office, and GIMP, and whatever programs we throw in there. It takes 60 gig up. And you get the other 60 gig for your stuff, which is why we also give you an S drive, so you can save more stuff there, and you have your Google Drive, you can start more stuff there. But how much do I need? 120 is perfect for you guys. The middle school only gets a 60 gig drive. We don't install all the same stuff on there because that's what we had left over from you guys. We upgraded you from 60 to 120 and gave the middle school the 60 gig drives. If I bought a laptop and I wanted to go buy one, and this is a normal question that gets asked me all the time from staff, how big of a hard drive do I need? And my answer is, meh. There's no way for me to know what you need because it depends on what you're going to put on it. If you're going to use it like we do to do Office stuff, then 120 gig hard drive is perfectly fine. If you're going to install graphics hardware, graphics software, if you're going to do video editing, if you're going to play games, this is not sufficient. And this is just some size of some games. 90 gig for the game alone, 130 gig for the game alone, 99 gig for the game alone, 90 gig for the game alone, 70 gig for the game alone. If you're going to be a gamer and you get a gaming laptop, you need a big hard drive. 500 gig may not even be enough. My computer at home, I have an M.2. It's 2 terabytes, and I filled it with games. So I bought another solid state that was 2 terabyte, and I'm pretty full. And in addition to that, on my computer at home, I have an 8 terabyte. So I have 2 terabytes, 2 terabytes, and 8 terabytes. That's what my computer at home has to hold all my videos because they were taking up too much space. So when people ask me how much do I need, I don't know how to answer that because it depends on what you're going to do with it. But in a laptop, you can only hold 1 drive. Usually, there's a couple that hold 2. So you have to plan for what you're going to do with it. I would not personally get a laptop that had less than 250 if I was buying one from Best Buy. I'd shoot more for 500 gig or a terabyte, and if it was a gaming machine, I'd have at least 2 terabytes. So you have to decide what you're putting on it ahead of time before you buy the hardware or you'll do like I did and keep adding and adding and adding. Capacities and speeds don't have anything to do with size, kind of. All 3 of these are 4 terabyte, 4 terabyte, 4 terabyte. They do have something to do with cost. This size drive, 4 terabyte, this is last year, this is a year old, so prices may have changed. $90 for a 4 terabyte one of these. $450 for a 4 terabyte one of these. This is that drive, by the way. That's an 860. This is an 870. Okay, it's close. So we're looking at $450, and then if we get a 4 terabyte M.2, now we're up to $750. Why would I do that? Because these are increasingly faster. This, gonna roundhouse numbers, transfers data off this drive and finds it, transfer it, because they're 2 different things, around 150 megabits per second. 600, 3,000. Okay? So it goes up in price because it's also going up in speed by a lot. Of course, you might say, well, then why don't I always buy that? Because it's that, and I can't always afford that. I wish I could. So sometimes I go here and I'm like, I can't afford that either. Like my 8 terabyte video drive at home. I would love to have put an 8 terabyte solid state in it. They don't make them. But if they did, it would be too expensive for me. But I could easily afford the 8 terabyte spinny drive to hold my movies. So capacity, I can get the same capacity in most of the same drives, but the speeds are different and the costs are very, very different. Okay? That's it for capacity. Next quiz on capacity.
My class is still going.
Okay, I'll close. Okay, questions? Right, continue on. Okay, so there's the last thing we're going to talk about because it's a lot of stuff. There are 2 kinds of drives. There's spinny drives and there's solid state drives. For years and years and years, all we had was spinny drives, and now we have solid state drives. And we're going to talk about solid state drives next, but we're going to first talk about spinny drives because they're still a very real part of the hard drive market today, and there's some reasons for that. So first of all, spinny drives are airtight drives. There is no opening on this so that no dust can get in it, as opposed to floppy drives and CD-ROMs. Obviously, they're out in the air all the time. These are not sealed. This is not sealed. Just what made these so terrible, because if somebody wrote on them, stuck it down in their pocket or in their purse, they moved that a little bit and it got dust in there, which would be easy to do, then it could destroy the drive. There is microscopic clearances between this right here, which is the head, and this platter right here, and it's spinning around anywhere between 5,400 revolutions per minute and 15,000 revolutions per minute. So this sucker is going fast. It doesn't take a lot. Think about it like a pothole when you're driving. If you hit a pothole at 5 miles an hour, who cares? You win, right? You hit a big pothole going 50 miles an hour on the highway, you can totally disalign your vehicle and destroy your vehicle. Okay? A speck of dust the same way. So these are sealed airtight. This is obviously open to show you. The way they're sealed is, this one is easy to see, this little spot right there. It's like a little open drilled hole in there that's covered up with essentially a piece of tape, so that as this changes in altitude, that goes in and out to let the air pressure equal the air pressure outside of the drive, but nothing goes in and out of the drive. So if I went up to Colorado, where the air is much thinner, this, instead of being dimpled in, be dimpled out, because the air inside would expand and it would push that dimple out. But it's sealed. There's multiple discs inside one of these. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can only see 4, but there's a 5th one in there. This is multiple discs, and each one of these has the ability, or does read on the top and the bottom of every single one of those. And there's we're going to watch a little video of what I'm talking about when I say microscopic clearances. And these rotate at really high speeds. The faster they rotate, the faster they can get data off of them. Because this goes like this across here, all in unison. This whole seeker head goes together. And the data has to go underneath that to be read. So the faster this goes around underneath that, the faster it can read the data. So this is just a picture of what, your data is all over the drives. Could be anywhere. There's nothing that says the drive information is any one particular place. Hard drives spin together. The read-write heads are controlled by an arm that moves together. It reads from each side of the surface. I'm going to show you pictures of this. And the head is divided into tracks and sectors. So what does that mean? Okay, first of all, let's look at the physical characteristics. The center of it's called the spindle. There's going to be a matching problem like this on the test, by the way, just so you know. Like where you drag what's what. Spindle's the center. The platter is the part that spins around. This whole thing here is the actuator arm. We're going to watch a video of seeing the actuator arm move. This whole thing moves together. And for each of these platters, there's a magnetic head above and below each one of them. It does the reading and writing of the data. It does not touch it. It magnetically changes things from 0 to 1s as they go by. Okay? So this is all written. This is all 0s and 1s. It's all binary, just like everything else on our computer. And it magnetically changes what's written on there from a 0 to a 1. And a laser, that's why it's called a laser disc, does the same thing on this by permanently, and in fact, a CDR means it gets one right. Once it's imprinted as a 0 and 1, it can never be changed. And CDRWs are ones that can be rewritten and that can be changed. If you didn't know. So let's see if I've got it right. Oh, okay. And then it's divided up into tracks. These circular things are called tracks, and each track is divided up into multiple sectors. And when data is written, depending on how big it is, it can be written all over your hard drive. One file can be all over your hard drive. Written on multiple different disks, on multiple different tracks, on multiple different sectors. And if I gave you the book Harry Potter, and I said, I would like you to read Harry Potter, and there is a different page put on every locker in the high school. You have to walk around and read the book, okay? And I did the same thing with Nick, but Nick's are all put in the middle school, and they're not in order. And so he has to find the next page every single time. Whereas you're just walking down the thing going, page 1, page 2, page 3. You're reading Harry Potter like that. Yes, it would be boring and I'd want to sit down. And Nick, however, has to run from the first floor to the second floor to find the right one. And by the way, he's got a sheet of paper. We're not mean. We've given Nick a sheet of paper that says page 2, floor 2, locker 87. So he knows where it is. So he runs up there, and he goes, and reaches that page, and when he's done reading that Harry Potter page, page 3, floor 1, locker 42. And now it's to run downstairs. Okay? The data is presented and saved the same way. Each page is put on a different locker. But if the lockers are together, called contiguous, contiguous data is data that's together. Fragmented data is data that's put all over the place. Okay? So you read Harry Potter contiguously, and he reads Harry Potter completely fragmented. You read at the same pace. Who will finish Harry Potter first? You read at the same pace. You will beat Nick by years in getting Harry Potter done because Nick has to run up and down, back and forth for every single page and you just have to go. Let's pretend you're both fast speed readers. Nick is exhausted at the end of reading it. And you're just like, yeah, that's pretty good. But first of all, the first Harry Potter's isn't that thick. We'll say it's not the Prisoner of Azkaban. It's just the first. It's the Sorcerer's Stone. Okay. So contiguous data is way better than fragmented, and contiguous means it's written on the same track in adjacent sectors altogether. Fragmented means it can be anywhere. This only happens on these kinds of drives because only these kinds of drives have platters and sectors and tracks. Okay? So, it's one of the things you need to understand about traditional spinny drives. Okay? And we're going to watch a little video just so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to put it on the right page of how microscopic these clearances are and how fast this head moves. First of all, it looks like it's on there. This is moving at 5,400 revolutions per minute. So it's going, or 7,200, one of the two. So it's going by really fast. This actuator arm is told where there's a table on there that says, like this spreadsheet, keeps a data table of where the files are in a memory file on the hard drive itself. So it knows where it is. It just has to pull this out of Park. It's in Park right now. Has to pull it out and then find and read the file, and then it goes back and reparks itself. Okay? I think it's going to start moving really quick. Let's see if I can get it to. Oh no, it's almost there. So he's gonna read a file, and you're gonna see how fast it goes across, finds the file, and then comes back and reads it. And the bigger file, the more reading it does, the longer it's sitting there doing that. And any speck of dust that would get underneath that head would scratch the surface and ruin parts of the disk. Sectors of the disk would be destroyed. Okay? So that's just a little, so you can see what it looks like when a hard drive is reading and writing across those platters and tracks. There's positives of having a traditional hard drive. There's reasons we have these. Number one, it's the lowest price per gigabyte or terabyte. Our video servers, we have 3 video servers that do our video cameras in the hallways and outside and everything. They each have 16 terabytes of video storage on each of the 3, saving camera footage back as far as 4 months. So every time somebody walks by the camera in the hallway, I can look back as far as 4 months to see who was in the hallway when, if something happened. If I tried to put 16 terabytes of storage in those machines this way, it would cost me thousands of dollars more. Because this is $500, and the 16 terabyte drive was $200. And I would have to put 4 of these in to get the same thing on one drive. So it's the lowest cost per gigabyte. It also has the longest lasting and has the best warranty. If these are taken care of, if they're not allowed to get hot, they're in a room that's cool, if they don't get moved, then they're rated in millions of hours of usage. Longer than you will live. 114 years is what this is rated to last. Now, it always gets moved. It's never in the right cooling spot. There's always dirt in the PC. None of them last 114 years. But none of these are warranted past the most expensive one. It's 5-year warranty. Most of these are 5-year warranty. Most of these are 3 at best. Most of them. So they're rated 2 ways because they last longer. Mean time before failure. The rated mean time before failure of most hard drives is 1 million hours. It's 114 years. Or they're rated for annualized failure rate, how often one of these fails in a given year. The lower number that is, the better. So if it's down below 1%, it means you have a very low chance of getting a bad drive. Because, this is saying the perfect drive will last 1 million hours. And we know that not everything's perfect. Right? So not every one of these is going to last 1 million hours. In fact, probably none of them will last 1 million hours. But if everything was perfect in the production process and was kept in an air-conditioned, dust-free lab, that's what they're saying. Plus and minus, really a minus, the data transfer rate. So here's the thing. This cable is the same as this cable. Both these use the exact same cable. The cable is rated at 600 megabits per second. It's how fast it can transfer data. And this one realistically gets pretty darn close. This one can't even find the data that fast. Now, if the data is contiguous, after it's found it, if it's a big, huge file, it progressively transfers faster and faster up to that theoretical limit, never actually happening because it can't spin fast enough to get the data out that fast. So that number that says this connects at 600 and this connects at 600, or SATA 3, SATA 3, same thing, is theoretical because this can't get to it that fast. Okay? So, it has slow response times. It's susceptible to physical damage. Yeah.
I think they just sent it.
What?
I think they just ended it.
Okay. I changed it so that my phone didn't ring anymore. As soon as they call, they can hear a class is going on, and they can either say, "Hey, I need your help," or they can hang up. I don't have to run over there anymore. And the last thing is data fragmentation that only happens on these kind of hard drives. So data fragmentation is when our files. Okay. Before I go into that, the response time is a factor of how fast the disk moves and how fast that head travels across the thing. So we're given response times, but just so you know, the biggest thing is it's dependent on disk speed. So the faster your disk spins, the faster you can get data from it. 5400 RPM and 7200 RPM hard drives. This is a foot stomper you need to remember. Those are normal hard drive speeds. 5400 being the cheaper of the two, 7200 being a fast, normal drive for your computer. 10,000 and 15,000 speed hard drives are really expensive. They generate tons of heat. They need to be in an air-conditioned environment, and they're expensive. If I didn't already say that, they're not ones you're going to buy. They do exist. They do go that fast, but they're not normal drives because they generate so much heat because they're going so fast. And because they're going that fast, they use more electricity as well. So response time is a function of rotational speed. So the faster it spins, the faster it can get to data. So the last thing is fragmentation. Fragmentation means a file is all over the place. Okay? And if I have a file that's all over the place, it takes longer to find. Just like the Harry Potter example, I'll give you another example. When I was in college, I was an intern at Dayton Power and Light, and we wrote a program called the time of use billing system. And that meant that you got billed for your electricity every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, it took your gauge reading, and any power that you used between 7 at night and 7 in the morning, you paid 1/10 the price that he paid for 24 hours a day. The idea is that DP&L, makes power all day long, but at night it's not being used. Air conditioners aren't on, businesses aren't open, but I still have to make enough power to get to all those homes, even though you're not using it. So I'm wasting money making power that you're not using. So if I can get you to shift your power usage from daytime to nighttime, if I can get you to do your laundry after 7 o'clock, if I can get you to turn your water heater on after 7 o'clock, if I can get you to charge your electric car after 7 o'clock, you pay less. And I actually save money because I was already making that power. And now you're using it. Okay? So that's what our program did. So Nick is an audio engineer intern also for Dayton Power and Light. And because his name is engineer, he got paid $2.50 more than I did an hour, and I wrote the program, and all he's doing is printing out the bills, and that made me angry, but that's another story. So the auto engineer prints out the bills every day, folds them up, stamps them, and mails them out. That's all he did. He got $10 an hour. I got $7.50 for writing the program. So a month into the program, he calls me up and says, I'm starting the bills at 8 or 9 in the morning, and they're not done when I come in the next day. And it normally took an hour or two to print all the bills. And I'm like, what? I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it's taken all day. So I go over there with one of the other full-time people, and we watch them, and the bills are coming out one every 30 minutes to print a bill. I mean, he's already started it, and we're just watching the laser printer. And again, he's making $2.50 more an hour than I am to watch the laser printer at this point. And this is what it was. We defragmented the hard drive, stopped the job, defragmented the hard drive, which took about an hour. Started the bills off and just went, started coming out right away. The drive was so fragmented from collecting your data every 15 minutes, because every 15 minutes it wrote a part of the file, so it was never next to each other for each customer. They were all over the drive. That hard drive was going insane trying to find the data. Jumping all over the place. It was taking hours to read. So there are programs. I'm going to remote to a different one. To who has all physical drives. This may already be set up on there. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. So this is our backup server where all the backups go. Like when you guys save stuff to your S drive, they're backed up every single weekend and archived over here on this backup server. So Windows has a program that defrags hard drives. And this, if we look at it, it says these drives 0% fragmented, 0% fragmented, 0% fragmented. Nothing fragmented on this drive at all. Okay, that's what Windows says. Now, I don't know if I got defragler right. Let's see if I got it on. Defragler. I do know. That's the same program. So I'm going to download Defragler. Defragler is a free piece of software. Here. Sure, update password. I don't know if it'll work on a enterprise machine or not. Let's see. It may tell us we can't use it on a. We're going to find out here in a second. Thank you for downloading. I don't remember if it lets us do it on. This is a server, and some free programs do not work on server systems because they know you're a business, so they make it so they don't work. I don't remember if Defragler does or not. And if it doesn't, I'll go to another machine. Find out in a momento. Okay. It may go, let's say, no thank you. You lose, sir. Let's see.
What time do we swap classes?
What?
What time do we swap classes?
1:22. Got just a couple minutes. We'll see if we make it. Well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and run it on mine. My hard drive says that I'm going to go back and look at it in a second. I can probably turn it on. My hard drive says Windows. I could show you. It says my hard drive is not fragmented. But when I go and look at it, it at the same time says it is fragmented. And if I go and do the analysis of this drive, which Windows says is 0% fragmented, when I run Defragmenter, it says it's 53% fragmented. So Windows says no, but Defragler says yes. And if I look at the file list, this file alone is in 24 different fragments all around my hard drive. So when I go to read this file, it's got to go here. The hard drive's got to go all over the place. And I'm not going to defragment this right now. But if I did, it would take all those pieces and put them together, making it so it's contiguous instead of fragmented. I want to see if that installed over there. Setup complete. Oh, yay. I don't want to run the release notes. Okay. So this is a, now remember it said it was not fragmented. So this is a 5 terabyte hard drive right here. And I'm going to do the analysis of this one. Yes, sir. Empty the recycle bin. So I'm going to do the analysis of this one. It said it was 0% fragmented. And we'll see how fragmented this one is. And I can do it on this one because it's not going to affect what we're doing. This one says it is. Oh, it's not finished yet. And I'm going to imagine it's pretty fragmented. This is a pretty big drive. It may take too long for me to show you this. And I think that's the last thing I wanted to show you was fragmentation, and then we're done. So let's finish this, and we'll worry about the quiz next.
Teachers, for the interruption, I need the following students in the high school office briefly. Ben Browning, Caden Castillo, Drew DeWitt, Ellie Hake, Haley Michael, and Reagan Weisgerber. Thank you.
We got 3 minutes left. It might get, we're at 57% of the analysis on this drive. It is a big drive, but it's a 6 terabyte hard drive. It reports at 5.5. It always, by the way, reports less than you actually bought because of the way it formats the drive. So if you have 6 terabytes of data, you don't want to buy a 6 terabyte drive. You want to buy bigger than that. 89% complete. We're almost there. 94. Okay, so it says it said 0% fragmentation on Windows. This says 100% fragmentation because every week it deletes and rewrites files. So I was pretty sure this is going to be pretty fragmented. So if I go to the file list on this file right here, this file is 20,017 fragments around my drive. Is reading this file gonna take some time? Holy moly. Yeah, it's gonna take some time. So again, all this is there's a table in there and it tells the read head where to go to read, to find these pieces, and it's put together in memory on the hard drive and then slowly given out through the motherboard to the RAM. So if I went to, you know what, I'm not going to try that one. It's going to take forever. Let's do one that's only 81 pieces. This file right here is a Moodle backup. This is a backup of Moodle. It's 81 pieces. If I go ahead and hit defrag highlighted, it's going to take and read every single one of these pieces and find a spot that it can put them together. Okay, so there's 81 pieces spread out all over the place. When it's done, it might go in there. There's a bunch of free space. There's some free space. It's going to put them all together. So if you have a traditional hard drive in your computer, if you download and run Defraggler on it at night while you're asleep, mine runs every single night. You can program Defraggler to do it automatically. So now look, it's right there. Those 81 parts that were spread all over my hard drive put together right there. So if I went to read that file, the hard drive would go, the head would go plunk and then bark. Because it would, first of all, it's way better on my hard drive. We only have to defragment these because these have disks in them. This, it's just memory sectors all over the place, and it has the table and it just goes and pulls them all off at one time. There's no head. So fragmentation is a problem of, and I'm going to defragment the whole drive because I wonder how long that's going to take. Okay, see you guys.